Jamie Hayes, and I've been in the fitness and health and weight loss industry actually since the 70s, when I first attended my first aerobics classes, and late 70s started teaching classes. And a long-term career in the fitness industry. My wife Ellen and I have owned 9 fitness clubs and have seen transition of lots of trends over the years. But eventually we've came to realize that many of our clients were getting older as we were getting older. I'm 69, turned 70 in February, and I got involved in 1981 in fitness leaders courses when I was lecturing. And I wasn't so much the technician, the guy with all degrees. I was the one that put theory into practice, how to bring, at that time, exercise science, into the gym for fitness delivery programs. And but as we got older, more and more of our clients, men and women, were interested not just in getting healthy, but particularly losing weight. And so in 2002, we started a company called Healthy Inspirations, which was women's weight loss and exercise centers. Now, the interesting thing is, in Australia, I believe statistically there's more overweight men than women, except most men don't want to pay for a solution. So that was interesting for us. But since we've migrated to both women and men, so we started Healthy Inspirations, having centres by franchise around Australia and New Zealand. And then 10 years ago, we recognised there was a market within health professionals, be it medical centres or fitness centres and fitness professionals, to bring our systemised weight loss program in an affordable, scalable business model that they could deliver to their members and patients and clients. But one of the key turning points for us was literally 10 years ago, when we attended the first low-carb cruise in the Gulf of Mexico. And there we, because we had been running our weight loss program successfully, helping a lot of people lose weight, and currently is well over 15,000 members have lost over 150,000 kilos. It's now over a 20-year period. So we've learned a lot, not just from the trends in the weight loss industry, the trends in nutrition, but learning from our coaches and actually learning from our members. So we've learned a lot from them as to what creates behavior change, and that's been most important. But 10 years ago, we did attend the low-carb cruise, and we met Andreas Anfeld from the Diet Doctor, and we met, most importantly, Dr. Eric Westman. And I asked him one question. I said, Eric, we have a successful weight loss program, which is a descending calorie, low GI eating program. People have got a lot of weight to lose. We'll start them at a higher calorie and have what we call a soft landing. But you've been talking about a hard landing, where you start them, because he wrote New Atkins for the New you start them at a ketogenic level. And he said, what works best? And he said, absolutely, at his Duke clinic, a hard landing works best. And so we completely rebuilt our program to test whether a hard landing works best, starting them at a low carbohydrate level and bringing them up to discover their body's individual carbohydrate tolerance, and what that means in everyday foods that they like and their family like too. And I like to refer to the triangle of belief. If you can look at my hands and assume there's 3 points to the triangle. Now, at the top point of the triangle is I'm talking to you, Tracy, or Eric, or me, and you're the expert and you've got lots of results. And so I'll accept your belief and then move to the next point, which is I'll take immediate action. And if in taking immediate action, that leads to an immediate result, I start losing weight, I start feeling better, that reconfirms my beliefs, and I continue with it. And that was really important to avoid the early drop-off. So moving to Eric's model and adapting it, and with the help of Australian practicing dietitian who oversaw the development of all our program. We developed a systemized weight loss program, actually an expert weight loss program that could be delivered at low cost by a non-expert. So but meanwhile, we've been incredibly successful with many women and men losing 10, 20, 30, 40 and 50 kilos. And I'm pleased to say our goal is always to help them do it without hunger. You hear lots of different views on that. And I've over a period of time, you develop a real clarity into what's more important, the diet, the exercise. Definitely, if you speak to any fitness club or go to the reception and say what percentage of new people starting an exercise program, joining up in a gym, signing up with a personal trainer or something like that, what are their primary goals? What is the most common goal? They'll all say weight loss, which means that there is a community belief that if I've got a few kilos to lose, if I start exercise, I'll lose weight. Unfortunately, the science doesn't support that. That exercise leads to weight loss without concurrently an effective dietary change. So if I could use my hands again, where the community believes that exercise leads to weight loss, we've actually found the reverse is true, that weight loss leads to exercise. Because if you take an overweight or obese person who's struggling to exercise and has lots of disincentives to exercise, even though it's good for their health, whether they lose weight or not, we've found if you take an overweight person and through effective dietary change, help them lose weight, which means their powder weight ratio goes up and their joint inflammation typically goes down, they become more inclined to exercise. They become more confident. And so where exercise doesn't lead to weight loss, the good news is the reverse is true. Weight loss leads to exercise. And then people can enjoy all the benefits, the mental health benefits, the metabolic benefits, the body shaping benefits, the longevity benefits, of exercise. So, this hunger aspect is so important. Firstly, let's address what I call the weight loss conundrum. I want everybody to think about somebody they know, be it themselves or somebody else, who has, let's say, 10 kilos to lose. Scientists tell us that every pound of body fat stores around 3,500 calories. There's 2.2 pounds per kilo. If you multiply that out, 3,500 times 2.2, every kilo stores around 7,700 calories. Multiply that by 10 for 10 kilos. 10 kilos stores 77,000 calories of energy. Now, which is enough energy to walk, let's say here in Australia, from, let's say, Melbourne to Sydney and back without eating. It's like an atomic bomb of stored energy. But here's the weight loss conundrum. If you ask that same person who wants to lose 10 kilos, they're carrying an extra 10 kilos of body fat, do they ever get low on energy? Do they get hungry through the day? Do they have cravings? Typically, they'll say yes. So how could that be? How could somebody have an atomic bomb of stored energy, enough to walk from Melbourne to Sydney and back without eating? And how could that person ever get hungry? What if we tell them, oh, it's simple, just eat less and exercise more? That'll make them even hungrier. No wonder people say diets don't work. And so we've really taken the thought of saying, what can we do? What drug can we apply to give them access to the energy stored in their fat cells? And we use a drug called food. Not just any food, but a food that's going to normalize their hormones so that they can get access to the energy stored in their fat cells. Well, do we need to focus on calories? Well, again, I'm going to quote Dr. Eric Westman, and he says calories count, but with the right eating plan for your body, you don't have to count calories. And so in our weight loss programs, we never mention calories at all, but knowing that they count. And the work from Dr. Ted Naiman, with his PE diet, we've found if you prioritize protein and reduce energy from both carbs and fat, you will maximize satiety and you'll naturally eat less. I mean, it is remarkable how it provides incredible satiety over a long period of time, and you can have smaller meals and can feel completely satisfied. We need to eat 6 times a day. These are questions we get all the time. Firstly, because in our eating plan, traditionally we start with 3 meals a day and 2 snacks. All main meals, we prioritize protein, and the snacks whey protein powder. So, we're seeking to optimize protein intake. Typically, we're aiming for about 1.5 grams, like 1.5 grams per kilogram body weight. And there's lots of different formulas on that, which is, should it be on body weight? Should it be on reference body weight? Should it be on lean body weight? That's pretty confusing. As a matter of fact, if you want to calculate reference body weight, height will come into it. And so to give credit to Marty Kendall, he's published a protein goal based on height, which makes a lot of sense because BMI takes height into calculation. So rather than all the confusion about reference body weight, lean body weight, how much protein, which is pretty confusing, you could actually estimate it based on height. But knowing that still has a confusion factor because 100 grams of beef, it doesn't deliver 100 grams of protein, way less. And so we simply prioritize protein. And meal timing always comes into it. And we've learned from people like Marty, again, give him full credit to say, if you can delay each meal, each snack until you're feeling mildly hungry, that can make a huge difference. So meal timing makes a difference too. And we find when people, even though we're encouraging them to have protein 3 times per day, which is typically a 30-gram main meal, a 15-gram shake, a 30-gram main meal, 15-gram shake, 30-gram main meal, that type of scenario. When people fat adapt, which means they've got more ready access to the energy stored in their fat cells, we find they often say to a coach, "Oh, I forgot to have my shake. And I was so busy I didn't even have lunch, but I was comfortable." Which means they're becoming like a hybrid car that can operate on both petrol and electricity. They can operate on the kindling or the glycogen, blood sugar, and the energy stored in their body fat. So it's great when they develop that freedom that they can access energy stored in their body fat. Okay, well, firstly, I've just got to share a little bit about my own health history. I was as a child and into my teenage year, a chronic asthmatic. My father's a doctor. We were living in Melbourne, and having been hospitalized a few times with collapsed lung, concave chest, all that sort of stuff, eventually my father said to my mother, we might as well just keep him at home and pray that he'd be breathing in the morning. It was terrible. And unfortunately, I lost a brother to asthma, and 2 of our 3 sons were chronic asthmatics and both hospitalized. So I'm free of asthma. My sons are free of asthma. So, and I have really just taken on the concept of treat the whole body. Whatever is your genetic weakness, your genetic predisposition, treat the whole body. Get that body stronger. Definitely every day. Even this morning, I read a new article saying that diet can affect mental health, mood disorders, and things like that. So there are so many chronic diseases that can be positively influenced by having an anti-inflammatory diet, where you've got stable blood sugars, stable insulin. Of course, insulin is never measured, and so it's overlooked. And my father, who was a doctor, He complained late in his years that medicine is so reductionist nowadays, everybody in their silos. I've seen a number plate, actually 2 number plates in Brisbane. One is ankles and the other one is knees. These are surgeons that specialize in ankles, or another one specializing in knees, and of course, sure, if you break something, go see them. But so many chronic diseases, we don't look at diet first. But if you take your pet to who's unwell, your dog or your cat, to the vet, typically the first thing the vet will say, what are you feeding them? Okay, let's look at my most common tips that I give people. If you've got highly processed foods in your diet, just moving to unprocessed foods is going to make a difference to your health. That's why, Elle and I were vegan for 2 years. Eventually I did get low on energy, put on weight, and predisposed to getting sick. But definitely moving from a processed diet to an unprocessed diet is the first step. And do you know what that means practically? Is that you'll eat out of your fridge, not your pantry. So if pretty well everything you eat, comes out of the fridge because it's fresh food, meat, fish, eggs, dairy, low carb veggies, low sugar fruits, things like that, you are going to be healthier. And your kids do not need snacks. So mums, dads, grandpas, I'm a grandfather, they do not need snacks. We never denied our 3 boys today growing up with whatever they wanted to drink. They could choose any time they like between fridge water and tap water. So anyway, that's number 2, unprocessed and food out of the fridge, not the pantry. Another tip we often give is the 1 plate rule, which is cook your meal, put it on the plate with all your serving sizes, take the plate to the table, enjoy your meal and enjoy the company, and then get the hell out of there. So, and it's forks, not fingers, because when you think about it, foods that you grab with your fingers, a roll, a sandwich, a pizza, chips, things like that, even high sugar fruits, tend to be sort of less tolerated or less healthy, whereas foods you eat with your knife and fork, steak, fish, eggs, things like that, and also I don't know if there's any data, but I've observed people struggling with their weight. When you see them in a restaurant, and my wife always says, don't stare, they tend never to put their knife and fork down, never let their blood sugar come up so that their bodies can respond. It's plowing it in, and they tend to overeat. So that's a habitual thing. Another tip is try to create a ritual of daily exercise. So, and that coordinates with another tip. I'm going to get back to the exercise, which is the importance of sleep, almost as important as exercise, particularly when you're seeking to create that hormonal balance to get access to the fat stored in your body fat. So I'd say go to bed early. The hours you get before 12, I think, add up much more than the hours after 12. So, calculate, in order to give yourself some time to do 15 minutes of exercise in the morning, what time would you naturally have to wake up and then go back 8 hours? So for me, I am to be in bed by 8. So that I naturally wake up 4:30 or something like that, having had a good restorative sleep. And then I've got time for reading. I've got time for exercise. And if you're doing some other activity, that's great. But at least do some sort of exercise. For me, my best time is first thing in the morning. And I pretty well only exercise 15 minutes a day. So you can achieve an enormous amount. And Tracy, this is where I'd like to move on to one of my biggest tips, which is do some strength exercise. Because unfortunately, we're so focused today on fat, weight, waistlines, that what gets ignored is lean tissue, muscle, and not just muscle size, but muscle strength and muscle function. Muscles are a metabolic organ. As far as I'm concerned, they are the sugar sinks of the body. And muscles work on a use it or lose it principle. Today, most people earn their living from their neck up. We're information workers. Right now, I'm sitting in a chair talking into this camera. Even tradies now, they are using, learning more of their living from the neck up because they've got push button tools with batteries and things like that. Our parents used to have wind up windows and did not have power steering in their cars. And so, they had the opportunity to use their muscles. But as increasingly our societies move left from agrarian, farming or, sort of working on the farms and things like that to working behind a computer all day, the principle of use it or lose it comes into play. And we start suffering sarcopenia, loss of muscle tissue, early. And this negatively affects the quality of our life and potentially the quantity of life out of our life. I'm about to turn 70, but I know somebody who's 72. He and his wife cannot babysit their grandkids because they simply don't have the mobility to be able to do that, to pick them up, to run after them, even just at home. So if that's important to you, preventing frailty, I really encourage everybody to do some resistance training so that they maintain strength and function. And it only needs like 3 to 5 exercises. You can do it with body weight. You can do it with equipment at home. You can go to the local gym. So I really believe that resistance training, and tip for doctors, just when you have like GP, when you've had a regular patient visit, regardless of what they're complaining about. My father used to say, "What ails you?" as a doctor. But after measuring blood pressure, it's good to grab a hand grip dynamometer. It's a 10-second test, completely free, and it's indicative of total muscular strength. And so that early, before somebody gets frail, we can say, hey, it looks like you are declining in your strength too early. That may have a negative impact on your health. And so I really recommend you find somebody who can guide you in doing exercise at home or, in a gym or something to make sure you maintain good muscular function. Yeah, look, changing behaviors is difficult. There's so many triggers. They just become chains that hold us down. And we work with a group who are who open to change, and that's and we filter them out because they're willing to pay. But one of the key things, if you want to change the outcome in any area of your life, it's good to do 2 things. One is to find a coach who coaches in that outcome. It may be somebody who coaches you in learning a computer program, or somebody who coaches you in golf, or somebody, to improve your golf swing, somebody who coaches you, in building up your strength, like a personal trainer, exercise physiologist. And so that coaching can make a huge difference. I really believe that the coaching should be consistent. So, because there's this notion in the world that information wants to be free. So people say to me, "Oh, just give me the diet, just give me the handout, tell me what to do." But that's almost useless. As a matter of fact, when we have a saying, when people pay, they pay attention. And when we show them what to do, then watch them and give them feedback, then show them how to progress and watch them and give them feedback. And this doesn't happen overnight. So having a coach in the long term, like I've taken up a new sport, I'm learning boxing. And I've got a boxing coach. I pay the boxing coach. I'm not the least bit pugnacious, I can assure you. And it's a group of, I think I'm one of the youngest in the group, guys in their 70s and 80s and women in their 70s and 80s, all learning how to, stand, and it's pretty exciting. So we're all old blokes and stuff like that, but trying to stay fit, but learn a new skill, and so we pay a coach. So I really believe that coaching can help in that behaviour change, rather than going to Dr. Google and say, I'll learn that. Because in my area of weight loss, if you Google weight loss or how to lose weight, you'll probably get about 3.5 billion. It would take like 100 lifetimes to look at each one of those. So, which is incredibly confusing. So go to a coach who's already getting results. And finally, surround yourself in a community or communities, but a community who are after the same thing. That can make a huge difference, and allocating time, within that community. Don't be a getter, be a giver, within that community. And that can make a huge difference as well. So you're surrounding yourself with like-minded people in that particular endeavor. And so you might have a few coaches in different aspects in your life. And you might belong to a few communities. It might be a knitting club, a booking club, book club, or whatever it is, whatever you want to improve, something about business or executive leadership or management or sales or marketing, whatever it is. And, I'd like to, finishing comments, share my favorite client was my mother, June, at 76, having already fallen over and breaking a wrist. But once she healed, she said, darling, I think I need to get stronger. I said, Mum, come down to the gym. And we got her doing 5 exercises, once only, super slow, like that, just moving super slow, no momentum, guided by a coach, of course, coming twice a week. In 6 months, she doubled her strength on all exercises. With some exercise, she tripled her strength, and with lower body exercise, she quadrupled her strength. She started at 76. Now, was that life extending? Absolutely. Eventually, she couldn't, have a license and drive a car, and so we had the coach come to her place. So that is my favorite story.